Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Destination Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Stoker. We've got a really fun episode for you today. Although we almost had to cancel it, I had an emotional weekend, and I watched my favorite team. And you can see this. I'm wearing my BYU hat today. I'm normally wearing my Brand Revolt hat. But I watched my favorite team lose on Saturday again to Texas Tech. And of course, Jeff Williams, my guest today, showed up wearing a Texas Tech jacket, and we almost had to cancel the episode. But Jeff, I'm still happy to have you here.
Adam, you are a great sport, but I tell you, we have a lot of respect for BYU. The fans turned out here in Arlington, and they were great people. And then we were rooting for you to make the CFP. You should have made it. There. And I think there'll be more discussions moving forward there, because here's a team that only lost to one team the entire year and should be there.
Well, and our hope now is that Texas Tech wins the whole dang thing so that everybody realizes, oh, crap, we were wrong about BYU. That's the best case scenario outcome for us now.
Adam, you're my new best friend. I love that. It's awesome.
And Jeff, funny story, my dad actually taught at Texas Tech for, I think, 10 years. And so I've been to Lubbock many times, made that drive from Utah to Lubbock, got caught in some crazy snowstorms at Christmas time on the way down on the corner of Colorado that you have to drive through. But Lubbock is actually an underrated place, and I really loved my parents' time there and being able to go visit them.
Well, it's one of those cities that loves having the university there, and they're wide open. And then the mom and pop restaurants that are in that town, very unique restaurants, great food and friendly people.
Yeah, and it's funny, I've actually, for some reason, I've heard a lot of people kind of disparage Lubbock as a place to go. Whenever I'd say I was going to Lubbock, I'd have people say stuff, and I'm kind of like, you clearly have never been there, because the food is great, and the game day experience at Texas Tech is incredible. I don't know. It's a hard place to criticize once you've been there.
Well, and isn't it awesome when you travel to places for your athletic events and the people are friendly and to the fans and so forth there? And certainly we experienced that here in Arlington. The BYU fans were great, and then we enjoyed being there with them. It was a friendly camaraderie. They're a friendly rivalry, I should say.
Yeah. Did you get wind of the story of the week of the first Texas Tech game? The Texas Tech team barber, he had apparently, his wife had gotten in a car accident. She was hit by a drunk driver, and she was in critical condition. And BYU fans ended up taking the GoFundMe link from that. And I think it got up to, and it wasn't just BYU fans by the end of it, but I think it got up to like $160,000 raised for the team barber for Texas Tech.
Oh, it was incredible what BYU did. I did hear about it. And yes, y'all were responsible for getting that much money. It was phenomenal.
Well, but Texas Tech this time, this is what was so cool. Texas Tech returned the favor. So somehow, I can't believe it lined up like this, but there was a couple in Utah that had gotten in a car accident, and the husband actually passed away, unfortunately, in just a terrible car accident in Utah. Texas Tech fans caught wind of it, that he was a big BYU fan, and then they donated a crazy amount of money to his family as well and returned the favor. And anyway, it's one of the more impressive kind of back and forth between a couple of fan bases that I've ever seen, when you've got we go to Cincinnati and get the F the Mormons chant, and then we go to Texas Tech and they're donating money to our fans. It's a big difference, and it's probably a little more what college football should be.
Absolutely, Adam. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well, I didn't do the normal kind of intro to who you are because I just had such a desire to talk about football, but let's get into the purpose of this conversation. You're the former mayor of Arlington, Texas, and you're the president and CEO of Graham Associates, Inc., and you're the author of the Unity Blueprint. And when you and I had our original conversation, I realized that this was going to be a really valuable opportunity to discuss destination marketing and its relationship with the other components of a destination, specifically in your case, the mayor. And I think you guys crafted some really interesting tourism value together between your office and the destination marketing organization. And I wanted to talk through some of that today, and then of course get into your book, The Unity Blueprint, because I think it's really relevant to what we're trying to accomplish in the destination marketing space. But before we get into all of that, I'd love to get a little bit of background on the people coming on. And so I want to understand your dream destination, Jeff. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Well, you've asked, it's always the next place I'm going, Adam. With my family, we have been very intentional about trying to expose our kids to places all over the world, and especially the United States. And so we love to go to different places. And then this last year, I took our family to Branson, Missouri, which has continued to foster family entertainment. And I have a wide range of ages in my extended family, and all the way from 2 years old to 85. And there was so much to do there. And we stayed in an incredible VRBO there, and so many different kinds of things, outdoor events. The lake is there. And then you have every kind of show and so forth. But then my wife and I went to Mackinac Island at Grand Hotel with some other couples, and totally opposite type of vacation. It was no cars allowed on the island, and incredibly quaint downtown, but then a national park to where we could hike and bicycle around the island. And I was amazed. We physically exerted ourselves every day, but yet we then had a great rest. And both, when we came back from that vacation, was one of the most rested I've ever been after going on a vacation, because we generally are very active people that love to go see the sights and learn about the place. So that's a wide range. And then Europe, we love.
Yeah.
Period.
I love that. So I remember from our previous conversation, you're a golfer. So did you get a
Yes.
chance to go up to Big Cedar Lodge and play some golf while you were up there?
Well, this is an interesting thing. I did get to play golf for the couples trip at Grand Hotel. But when I go on family vacations there, they tell me to leave the golf clubs at home. However, though, I have a son and two son-in-laws that we take golf trips. And so we do that at separate times. But my wife asked that, well, hey, let's keep the family together and not make it a golf trip. So it hurts, because Big Cedar Lodge is beautiful golf, as you know.
Yeah, sounds like you made the right decision for the family, but you definitely have to take the sons and sons-in-law out to the to Big Cedar Lodge, because I've only played one course there. It was Paynes Valley. I'm dying to get back and try the rest. I actually, the whole time I was driving away from the resort, I'm just sitting here thinking I really screwed up by only playing one course here. So, yeah, but you made the right decision. Jeff, I would love to have you just give us a little bit of your background and what led you to become the mayor of Arlington, Texas.
Well, I own a civil engineering and planning firm, and we design a lot of sports facilities and tourist destinations and town centers and different building blocks of communities. And I had actually been recruited by our leadership to run for mayor because we were in danger of losing our Major League Baseball team, the Texas Rangers. Other cities were courting them and looking at bringing them. In addition to that, we hadn't really developed the area around Cowboy Stadium and the Rangers ballpark and Six Flags. And they said, hey, you do that for other cities, and we would love to have you come in as mayor and bring in the hotels and restaurants and other attractions to try to develop the area around these stadiums. And then there was another thing too, is that we had become an international city. We now in Arlington are the fourth most diverse city in America. And they said, we need someone who will bring our people together, because Arlington is known as a can-do city. And the reason we're a can-do city is because we respect each other and are willing to work together to make things happen. And so all of these were challenges. And my wife and I said, hey, we really got convicted that we needed to do it, even though we had said no the first two times, because people aren't wanting to run for office now. But yet we had things that we thought we could get done that would make a difference here for not only our kids and grandkids, but others, and create an even better destination in Arlington, Texas. And then, Adam, we talked about it before. I think cities many times don't understand, and especially the citizens, that cities thrive when they have tourism. It brings in so much money that can be used to make stronger neighborhoods, fix your streets, and so forth. And for here in Texas, for every dollar spent, there is a $5 return on tourism. That's a pretty incredible return.
Absolutely.
That's so why wouldn't we be doing it? And then I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about all of the other benefits when you invest in tourism.
Absolutely. I want to first examine a little bit your time as mayor, just making that decision. It sounds like you didn't want to a couple of times, but then they kind of kept asking. And what I guess a lot of us who have not served in public office don't really know what's on the other side of that door, right? Like it's kind of a black box for a lot of us that have never been in that chair. What was the most surprising thing about being mayor of a town like a city like Arlington? And yeah, were you prepared for it, I guess, or was it kind of drinking from a fire hose?
Well, for me, at owning a civil engineering firm, a lot of my clients were cities or they were tourist destinations, businesses there. So I knew very well what I was getting into. And that was part of the reason I was recruited there because I'd spent 30 years working on tourist destinations and working with mayors and councils and city managers and doing it. The things that I was not prepared for was animal services. That is a very emotional thing. And I actually tried to stay away from that, even though I love animals. It is a whole nother world in that. And then the other is police and fire is very specialized. And we made sure that we had great professionals there and they took care of those things. So that was the two areas that I needed help. But yet in dealing with tourism, I'd actually been on the Convention and Visitors Bureau board here in Arlington and chaired it. But then also I had served in various positions with nonprofits and even our civic committees. So it really helped prepare me for that. And then I went and made a plan. And I think that's really key is that I consulted the experts and then I took it to the citizens and said, hey, here is our plan. And they would add to it. And then we put aside that ego and say, hey, let's revise the plan. When a good idea comes forward, don't throw it away because it wasn't your idea. And so when I came into office, we had not my plan, but our plan. And I had literally thousands of people ready to help me implement it. So we jumped in with both feet there to keep the Rangers and to recruit hotels and restaurants here to really create an incredible place for people to want to come from all over the world.
I love that. I love that. Now, one of the things that I think stops tourism destinations from being able to do what you did in Arlington is that anytime you have a situation that's going to require 10 different organizations to be on the same page in order to get something done, it almost feels a little bit too daunting to take on. And in Arlington, I think you guys were in an interesting position because while Arlington had a lot of great assets as a city, I'm not sure it had what I would call a complete tourism experience. And I'd love to have you actually walk through some of what you did to help complete that. But you had a lack of, I would say, probably dining, especially dining that's close to resort style hotels that allow a large group of people to come stay. You had a lack of hotel infrastructure that would allow the types of groups and leisure travelers that come today to the destination. And so a lot of DMO professionals, a lot of mayors, a lot of leaders in general would look at that type of a situation and say, well, that's the hand we've been dealt in Arlington, and not say, you know what, I'm going to put together this coalition of people that's going to help me change the future of this destination forever. So how did you, as a mayor, have the foresight and even the courage to believe that you could make the city something that it had never been before?
Well, number one, being willing to study and to reach out to people to figure out, I mentioned the plan. That's paramount. And that plan wasn't based on just my knowledge. It was based on actually going out to the experts to find, okay, what can we do? And for instance, we started with Texas Live. The live products, there were 8 of them at the time that the Cordish family had done that are out of Baltimore, besides sports facilities. So they had proven 8 times that that was a great thing to have beside these stadiums. And they are a group of restaurants around a huge arena with a big screen that creates a place for people to go before and after games. And they made it so exciting that people will actually want to go there during the games. And so we went and recruited them. We just jumped right in. In fact, I went to the Rangers, asked them what it was going to take for them to stay. They said they didn't know at that time. They were still studying themselves and doing surveys of fans and ball players of what they wanted. So I did say, hey, whether you stay or not, we need something like the Live. And I would like for you to go with me to go talk to the Cordish family and see if we can get them down here. We knew they had already looked at the venues. The Rangers jumped on it immediately. They said, yes, we'll go with you. 2 weeks later.
Can I stop you just real quick? So you're kind of demonstrating the nuts and bolts of building a coalition, and I just want to make sure that everybody that's listening kind of grasps that, right? Is because step one is you were nervous that the Rangers might leave town. And so step one is I've got to get the Rangers and I on the same page. And so you go to them and you say, what do you need in order to stay? And they gave you some information or whatever. And then you say, okay, well, I know about this Live product, and we should probably let everybody, I mean, Texas Live, which I've been to in Arlington, you said there was 8 other Live products that were out there. I'll give everybody just a little visualization of this. I was at a conference this past year in Arlington, and I needed a place to go watch the BYU March Madness game, and I looked up this Live place, and I went over and walked in, and there is the biggest TV screen you've ever seen in your life, no matter who you are. It's the biggest TV screen you've ever seen, and then dozens of other TV screens up there, and you can watch any sporting event that's going on. You can watch it there. There's several restaurants within that building, but the seating for those restaurants can be in the Live area. And then, of course, there's great food from the Live venue itself as well. And so it's this massive experience ecosystem all around really sports in one place. And I'm sure they do some other events and things like that, but to watch March Madness there was just, it was a dream. And so you identified this Live product and said, if we had this, it would make a big impact on the visitor experience. And it would also give us more ammunition to get the Rangers to stay. Am I kind of thinking about those 3 things correctly?
Exactly. You described it so well. And by the way, that screen in Texas Live is the largest digital screen of any food and beverage place in the United States. And it is the largest entertainment complex in Texas and the largest outside of Vegas, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I love it.
So it is quite an attraction. So you see why we wanted to start with it. But that was one of the things we were missing. People could come to the ball games to see the Rangers or the Cowboys or even to go to concerts and so forth there. But there was not anything for them to do before or after.
Well, and you go to the Cornish family and you're pitching a vision that doesn't align with what they see Arlington as today, right? You're pitching what Arlington can be. So how did you go to this family that probably has the resources to go to almost any city in the country and build a development like this? How did you go with the Rangers and say, let's do this in Arlington, and get them to actually say yes?
Well, the key was going to our Convention and Visitors Bureau president, our DMO, and he was an integral partner in that because he had already compiled the data and the stats of who we were and what we were. And, at the time we were drawing about 14 million visitors a year. We had the vision that we could easily get to 18 million if we had the right things around it. And we've proven that out, by the way, now.
Yeah.
But at that time, we did have to share the vision. But here's what people are looking for. We aligned our city with the Rangers, which were the key one. They actually had the control of the land along with the city. The two of us had to be together. And then you align a premier convention and visitors bureau there with us. And then we had the magic could happen because we also guaranteed them of how long it would take to get them built and that we were willing to give incentives. And that's something that always hits a wall in a lot of cities because they go, well, I'm not going to invest tax dollars. Well, that's crazy, Adam, because if you don't invest tax dollars, then you're subject to inflation just like everybody else is, and you're going to end up raising taxes because tourism and jobs are the only two ways that a city can make money. And you have to make money to offset the inflation, but more importantly, use those tourism dollars to improve your city. It's a phenomenal thing, but also it improves your other businesses there, and it gives you the opportunity for them to grow because people coming into your city, it's called OPM, other people's money, bring it in and let them help pay for fixing your streets and spend money at your restaurants and your stores and so forth. It's a great formula for success for a community.
I think you've just outlined an argument that every DMO can now go make to their mayor and their city, and I hope that everyone listening does. Jobs and tourism are the only two revenue drivers that can leverage money from outside of the community into the community and help it grow and improve the quality of life for the residents. And so if you, as a DMO, can demonstrate that you can bring additional tourism or additional jobs, which, by the way, every time you add tourism assets, of course you add jobs. And in fact, I'd love to have you get to the hotel side of this in just a moment. Okay, 95% of you, and you know who you are, have websites that are just glorified directories. You guys, with all that's happening in AI, all that's happening with consumer behavior, the directory website, if that's its sole purpose, is dead, and it's time to let it go. In partnership with an amazing organization out of the UK named Destination Core, we've created what we believe to be the destination website platform of the future. That's not just a glorified directory, but actually is a content hub that has so much more of the experience that visitors are accustomed to when they're visiting websites and getting content and accessing content and finding what they're looking for. It's AI powered. We've got some great tools that we've integrated with it. We've got some pilot destinations that are in it right now. And if you want to learn more about it, just watch this webinar that we're planning. It's January 14th, and me, Destination Core, and our first pilot client, Kyle Oland from Golf Tourism Solutions, which is the golf DMO for Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, we'll all be on there talking about why we did it this way. We'll let you see a little bit of what it's looking like and what our plan is, and you'll be able to see why we believe that this is the correct website structure for the future. And we're really excited to have you guys watch it and let us know what you think. If you can make that pitch, though, that I'm going to bring tourism and jobs to the community if you will just invest tax dollars in this specific situation, I think what you're going to end up with is a much smoother conversation than, hey, I hope this will benefit the community, or we believe that this is going to benefit the community, or this might improve the visitor experience. No, this is directly tied to future revenue for the city, and then you're much more likely to get the political stakeholders to buy off.
That's right. And we're not talking about doing something that hasn't been done. We have the case studies all over the United States. When money is invested in tourism, you can come through in a big way for your community. And the tagline that we used was tourism plus jobs equals lower taxes and better city services. And it works every time. It's a key thing. And yet many times politicians and I'll just go straight to the mayors and city council members, they're wanting to be conservative. They want to be good stewards of the tax dollars, but you're not being good stewards of the tax dollars by burying the money. You got to invest the money.
Yep.
And then the magic happens because then you have other people's money, OPM, coming in that actually increases your wealth in your city.
Now, give me that math equation one more time for our listeners to hear it again.
You bet. Tourism plus jobs equals lower taxes and better city services.
There's your pitch. Everybody, there's your pitch to the mayor right there. So, Jeff, let's talk about, because you had to ask the Cornish family, I believe, for more than just the Texas Live product, but then it was like, okay, let's talk hotels. And because you needed a better hotel base to complete the Arlington tourism product. Can you talk about that?
Sure can. And this is a very important thing, Adam. We were a city that we could get limited service hotels. But as far as getting luxury hotels and convention center type hotels, we couldn't do it. It was a real problem. And so we went to Cordish, one, to get Texas Live to actually create more of an opportunity. And then they had built so many hotels beside their other live products that I asked them if they would build a hotel in our community. And they said yes to Texas Live. They said no to the hotel while we were talking to them. However, a week later, I got a call back from the Cordish family that said, we changed our mind. And here's what they said, is that they had studied and they said that, yes, the demographics right there close to the hotel did not speak to doing a luxury hotel. But however, when you introduce Texas Live, then they said, hey, we believe people are going to want to stay here and have something to do at night. And besides just sitting there watching TV in a hotel room. And they thought that we would actually become a destination for people to stay in those hotels. And then in addition to that, they saw the opportunity for convention center expansion, because of then we would have the hotels there to happen. We had the stadiums, we had Six Flags. And so then that is how we started. Well, here's what happened. We advertised that we were doing Texas Live, and then all of the major hotel chains wanted to come in here. We actually had an opportunity to interview all of them. We ended up choosing the Tisch family and Lowe's because they were willing to make the commitment to us to build 4,000 hotel rooms and a new convention center. And that was the key. And then we had to go through a lot. Lowe's then had to pick us, and we had to go through a lot there with it. But it opened the door because we got activities to do. It all works together, Adam.
Well, and you start to generate all this momentum, right? Like you've got the Texas Live product coming in, you've got these new hotels coming in. At what point did the Rangers look at all this momentum and say, well, we don't want to leave this behind, we want to be a part of it?
Well, it happened. It's very interesting because we literally had Texas Live, we had Lowe's, and then at the end, and this was all in 2015, literally within 3 months, we had that happening in the middle of 2015. The Rangers finished their surveys of what they needed, and they needed a retractable roof ballpark. The survey said that the fans are not going to sit outside, especially the young fans, in this heat in Texas. And so they're going to need the retractable roof ballpark. So we made our pitch to be able to incentivize that retractable roof ballpark with city dollars. And basically that was at the end of 2015. And in 2016, the beginning of it, we actually came together. We went out to a major suite holders party out at spring training, and talked to all of the various partners of the Rangers. And we ended up talking to a lot of the ball players too, and made our pitch. And they made the decision and voted unanimously that they wanted to stay in Arlington. But then for the city to be able to fund our portion, we were going to use a sales tax, there, a 1/4-cent sales tax election, that we had used the same method to be able to pay for our part of the Cowboy Stadium and for the original stadium 30 years before that, there that we had done for the Rangers. And it's amazing, our sales tax had increased so much that all of those were paid off early. And so we used that same sales tax to be able to pay for at least the city's portion for that. And then I think we were very wise. And then all of those facilities, we capped what the city was putting into it. And so that allowed the Rangers and even the Cowboys, they built whatever they needed to, and they both added more money into it. To give you an example, Cowboy Stadium, the city put in $325 million off what was supposed to be a $650 million stadium, and the Jones family invested that much more to make it a $1.3 billion facility. The city's portion never went up. And then we did the same thing with the new Rangers ballpark that you see, and we put in $500 million to a $1 billion product. You can see things went up, and but however, the Rangers ended up spending $1.2 billion. So it was a $1.2 billion project, and the city's percentage never went up over that $500 million. But here's something too that is so important to the DMOs. Cowboy Stadium was an afterthought to design it for concerts and tractor pulls and monster jams and those kinds of things. But they have 300 events a year, even though it's primarily designed for football games. And well, that was the vision of the new Rangers ballpark, that we would have 300 events going there, but it was a smaller venue. It's a 40,000 seat venue. And so it was designed to be able to be an incredible concert venue. It can be soccer, football, lots of other sports. Wrestling is even taking place there. And it is an incredible venue for all of those facilities. And we have already reached 300 events a year on it. So literally 300 days out of the 365 days, we are having events at those two stadiums. It's a phenomenal thing to have, and it increases the quality of life for your own citizens.
And every event, you are filling that stadium with OPM.
Exactly. It's awesome. And people get that. That was really ended up being our mantra for passing the Rangers sales tax election was, hey, we need more OPM, other people's money.
Well, fun fact, one of the OPMs that came in, I was at the very first football game ever played at Cowboy Stadium, BYU versus Oklahoma in 2009, and had an incredible experience there. I've been to that stadium several times since. It really is, if you haven't been there and you haven't seen this stadium, you can't grasp just how incredible of a facility it is. And no wonder 300 events a year want to hold their events there, because it's incredible.
You know, it's amazing how it is held up. And of course, the Cowboys are remodeling it now for the World Cup. They're in gearing, and when I say remodeling, it's not just for World Cup. They are updating everything, and it is amazing. And then that center hung video board makes it an incredible venue for a lot of different kinds of events. But SoFi is definitely an incredible facility too. But I can say that we were very excited when the National College Football Championship a couple of years ago, it almost got rained out.
Oh,
and then yet we are weather resistant here, or weatherproof there at Cowboy Stadium, because it is totally climate controlled. And then the BYU Texas Tech game, you know, the temperature was about 40 degrees outside, and there we are sitting in at 70-degree weather. With the roof closed and an incredible environment. And it was a fun thing for fans to be able to go to that kind of game.
Yeah. And unfortunately, even though it was nice and warm in there, the BYU fans were still pretty uncomfortable. I was, after getting a beat down like that. But I just say that to joke around. Obviously, that's exactly why you guys created that experience.
And Adam, I'm not joking there. I tell you, I love the BYU people, and it was really, and then I was proud of our fans there too, because we really got along, and y'all, and by the way, the tables will be turned, I'm sure, in a few years.
Yeah, we'll see. We always hope so, at least. I want to get into your book, Jeff. I think there's a lot that we could continue to talk about, but your book is really kind of, in my mind, it's called the Unity Blueprint, and I was going to say it's the blueprint for building the coalition that you need to get stuff done. And so can you talk about what led you to write the book, and then what people can expect in the book?
Well, it's interesting. The Washington Post here, and I think it was in 2015, they actually published an article that said while people weren't looking, Arlington, Texas has become the sports capital of the nation. We had hosted the Super Bowls, NBA All-Star Game, WrestleMania. There, the list went on, World Series there. And so New York University, and specifically their sports management college, picked up on that. And they actually studied Arlington. They introduced themselves to me through the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And we started a great relationship. In fact, New York University, their students recommended that we go into esports, which, by the way, is also a great tourism.
Yeah.
We have the largest esports arena in the country here in Arlington because of that recommendation. But here's where it really got deep there in the fact of needing to have people work together. And that was the pandemic. My goodness, we were in uncharted waters. All of us were. And here we are, a big tourist city, and nobody's going anywhere. We're all hunkered down. And so we brought our medical community, our business community. We created coalitions within our city there and got them all working together. And I was chairman of the Big City Mayors Organization, which was the 15 largest cities' mayors. We brought them together. And in fact, that was an interesting thing because the most conservative Republican mayor there started to understand the most liberal Democratic mayor in Texas. And we realized that, hey, we needed to work together. And we shared ideas, and it was that way, especially in our city. And New York University actually made the claim that Arlington came out of the pandemic quicker than any city in America, both physically and emotionally and economically. They're through it, and their claim was based on that our unemployment rate in the country had reached 20% for every city in America. And by August, Arlington was down to 6% unemployment, while the country was at 16%. We hosted the first neutral World Series because we were in that kind of shape with the virus to be able to do it. And amazing things happen. Adam, I've got a story that I've got to share with you right here that I think is such a great example of tourism, because how many times do you hear the small businesses say, well, I'm not getting anything out of this tourism?
Yep.
Well, the Los Angeles Dodgers fans came to town and they wanted to venture out. And so they went to our downtown area, which is a couple of miles from our entertainment district. And they found a barbecue restaurant that had just opened up. It was actually a backyard barbecue guy that had come up with some unique recipes. It's Hurtado Barbecue. And they put it on social media, and his business soared. And in fact, Texas Monthly found him too because of that. He's now in the top 50 barbecue places in the Texas. And Taylor Sheridan, that is producing the Yellowstone series here in Texas, he found him, had him cater parties and so forth. And now Brandon Hurtado has 3 other restaurants. He's got a booming catering business, looking at adding more. And here was a small business that benefited from tourism. And that happens all the time. We have another restaurant, Prince Lebanese, that's happening. And so that's some of the magic there that you have. But then we wouldn't have any of this there. I'm talking about any of our tourism venues if we hadn't got the support throughout our city. And you go, well, how do you get that support? Well, I'll go back again. You need to study and analyze it, come up with a plan, and then take it to your citizens and share with them to come in. And then you've got to value them. You got to truly show that you value people. And then God made us to live in community. It's just no question about it. And even the biggest introvert, when you give them the right purpose and align them with a purpose they can get behind, it's amazing what they can do. And they recognize the need for doing it. And I love the quote that we all use from Margaret Mead, where it said, it's amazing what a few committed citizens can do to make a difference. Well, I like to change that and say it's amazing what a few thousand people can do when they're committed to the same purpose. And I think we as leaders have got to be that bridge that connects people with a purpose and moves it ahead. But yet we've got to be leaders of integrity. And, Chick-fil-A there put it very well when I was speaking to them here just a few months ago. I asked them, well, who are the leaders that you want to follow? And it was unanimous among those managers for Chick-fil-A. They said, we want to be able to trust our leader, but we also want them to value us. And it's that way everywhere. It crosses all bounds, whether it's in your business, whether it's in a nonprofit, or whether you're working on tourism, the same qualities are there, and we need to start working on it. Now, New York University went to Forbes, and they said, hey, we have a book that needs to be written, and Jeff Williams is the guy you need to talk to. And so Forbes came to Arlington, and they said, we do want you to write a book on unity. They said that we have polled Americans, and Americans want unity. However, they're not doing anything to create unity. And then yet we know in the tourism industry, the DMOs, they're all trying to create that unity behind tourism. Well, there are so many tentacles that move out from tourism that help a community. Imagine my citizens here in Arlington, they get to go to some of the neatest concerts that you could possibly have. They get to go to sporting events, but then they also get to take advantage, the businesses get to take advantage of them to create a living and make a living. Just so many benefits from it. But the thing that we come back to is that cities need tourism to really keep up with inflation and improve their city.
Yep. I love it. Jeff, this has been incredible. I encourage everybody, especially if you're trying to get multiple organizations and people to work together, check out Jeff's book. I think it's going to be a really great read for you. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with us. It's been really valuable. I wish we could do it for 3 hours, but we'll stick with the normal episode time for now. But thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
Well, Brandon, thank you for having me. I hope people will tune in and look for my book, The Unity Blueprint by W. Jeff Williams. It's on Amazon, and it's made it an Amazon bestseller already. People need unity, and I think that this will help you, whether it's in your business, personal life, or whatever else you're doing. We need to bring people together to make great things happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Adam, and go BYU.
That's right. Go Red Raiders. Guns up, right? And thanks, everybody, for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to leave us a rating or a review. It helps us continue to bring you amazing guests like Jeff. Thanks, everybody, and have a great week. If you haven't heard of CMO Jam yet, honestly, where have you been? This has been one of the coolest things I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of. In August, we brought together 12 of the most brilliant marketing minds in the destination marketing industry, and we were able to talk through the challenges, difficulties, but also wins and successes, and we talked about the future of destination marketing. We talked about the impact that AI is going to have in our industry, and it was such an amazing opportunity to spend an entire day with some of our brightest peers and watch them interact and discuss the challenges that they're going through on a daily basis and how every destination marketer can plan for the future. CMO Jam was a massive hit, and it's now being released as episodes, and episode 1 just came out a couple of weeks ago, and you're going to continue to see those episodes released weekly. You can find them on Brand Revolt's YouTube channel. You can find them on Tourism IQ. I've shared the link to them on my LinkedIn, and I can't wait for you to see what happened at CMO Jam. Give it a listen.